She belongs to two of the most influential families in the country. Hindi cinema and business run in her blood. Forget competition outside, she has enough to deal with at home. But then, Navya Naveli Nanda is a true mix of genes and Gen Z. Confident, self assured, and knows her mind. What the hell, Navya? That's quite a package. Welcome to News18 Showsha.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to meet you finally.
Yes, you as well. Thank you for such a kind introduction.
No, you deserve it all, I'm sure.
Thank you.
So, Navya, how did this? Tell me about the podcast and now, of course, the vodcast. How did it? What did you think, and how did you just come up with it? Considering it was more of a conversation that you could be doing just at home.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a long journey now. We're at season 2. Season 1, was, I think, the brainchild of something that we all three thought of during the lockdown. Yeah. We all live together, so every evening we sit, similar to how we do on the show, and talk about, many, many different things. And it was actually my mom's idea to turn this into a podcast. Yeah. We felt that a lot of the conversations that we're having on the show are really important conversations that should be had on public platforms. I think, a lot of more transparent conversations, open conversations about certain things that unfortunately are still, very stigmatized or taboo conversations to have. So she felt that, maybe if you have 3 women from the same family but different generations sit and actually have those hard conversations or tough conversations, it might spark a thought here or there and might encourage people to speak more openly about certain things. So that's really where the kind of motivation for the show came from. And of course, season 1 was completely audio, and a lot of people wanted to see us while we speak. So now it's a vodcast. Season 2 is completely on video. It's on YouTube. So I think it's been, a nice kind of switch into now the whole video piece of it. But yeah, I think the idea really came about from there, of wanting to have the hard conversations publicly, so that, we can encourage more transparency in the way that we communicate with one another.
Absolutely. While it's a fantastic idea, but like you said, having the hard conversations, but it can be very hard on you yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when, you are 3 generations. Jaya ji is sitting, and your mom is sitting, Shweta is sitting, and you are sitting. Tell me, how easy or difficult was it for the 3 of you to really have those hard conversations? Because I'm assuming, like any other regular family, Indian family that we are, and however progressive and however open we may be, there are still certain things that, it's okay, dadi ke samne nahi bolna hai, yeah, it's okay, don't tell mom about it. But on camera, now you have decided to go public and you are talking. So how easy or difficult was it to have that hard conversation first within yourself and then go public with it?
I think fortunately, I've grown up in, a family where we've always encouraged conversation, whether it's hard, easy, taboo or not. I think we've always encouraged conversation, and especially open conversation. I think especially amongst the women in the family, we've always had that equation with each other where we can ask the tough questions or we can question certain things. I think I've always been given the freedom to do that with my mom and my grandmother as well. So it wasn't difficult to have the conversations, because these are things that we've talked about many, many times before. And I think also for me, as, a young girl in her 20s who's just started her career out, I think there were a lot of questions that I had for them. They've lived life, they've seen so much more than I have. They've experienced so much more. So for me, a lot of the harder questions were genuine questions that I had as a young girl, living in India today, working. And I think this was a great way for me to get some of those questions answered. Of course, I think conversations in society, sometimes the topics that we're talking about might not be easy to have or might not be conventionally had on public platforms. But I think that's exactly what we were trying to break, is that barrier of that you can have this conversation with your mother or your grandmother.
Were there any odd moments, awkward moments, as to say? Was there anything that you were itching to say or discuss but you were conscious in your head that
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to be the reaction.
I think everyone knows that, we are very, I think three of us as women are very vocal. So I
Yeah.
don't think that we come from that school of thought of holding ourselves back. We always speak our mind, whether it's my grandmother, my mother, and me as well. We really speak our mind, and we don't have any barriers. So nothing that was awkward. I think definitely we disagreed on a lot of things. I think we come from three different generations, so our thought process or opinions on views on certain things are very different. So no awkward moments, but if you watch the season, you'll see that there are a lot of disagreements or things that they have a certain viewpoint of and mine is completely different. So not awkward as such, but yeah, definitely conversations and moments where we haven't always agreed with one another.
Right. And does the conversation go back home even after the cut is said?
Sometimes we'll finish recording and
The
then
mom comes back saying, "वो क्या बोला था तुमने?"
Yeah. Sometimes maybe over dinner we kind of bring up a certain conversation, but yeah, like I said, I think it's conversations that we genuinely typically have on a daily basis. So sometimes we continue the conversation at home also.
Between mom and grandmom, who do you think has influenced you more, considering three of you spent so much time together? And like you rightly said, that even while during COVID you were together, you're in the same house. Of course, mom is a great big influence on you, and we see that very often. Grandmom is, but between the two, who do you think has more of an influence, and who are you closer to, or who could you just open up quicker to?
I wouldn't say one has had a larger influence than the other. I think they both have influenced me in very different ways, and I think I would go to both of them for different things. I think, my mom is, like my friend, even though she doesn't like being called that if you've heard the podcast. She's someone I'm very comfortable kind of talking to and having those tough conversations with. And, she's somebody that I would go to for advice, or somebody that I would, she's kind of my shoulder to cry on. Versus my nani, who's, of course, got so much experience in her life through professionally, personally. So I think for her, I think our equation is more that I get a lot of knowledge from her. She has a lot to give me in terms of, advice she's had in her life professionally as well. So I would go to both of them for different things, but I think they've equally had a very big impact on me. So I wouldn't be able to choose.
And what do you think is the difference between you and Agastya? Is there temperament similar to him, towards him, or there is a difference? Like in one of the conversations, I remember you said that my mother's treatment towards me is more like a girl, and towards him is more like the boy. So
actually,
would you?
Yeah, like I think they've raised, like both my parents have, I think, raised us in an equal manner. I don't think we had those differences or gender stereotypes that only I as a girl could do this or only him as a boy could do that. I think they've both kind of raised us equally in the sense that they gave us both the same opportunities and they made us do the same thing. So there was no discrimination of like, because I'm the girl, then this is what I have to do, or because he's a boy, this is what he has to do. I think that temperamentally, we're pretty much the same. I think, he's also on this season of the podcast. You can hear from him personally, what he's like, which is, I think,
so this
great.
Season, are you introducing the men in the family also?
Just
to
a special appearance for one episode. I think the beauty really is the three of us and the kind of relationship and equation we share. So, but we do have him as a special appearance on the show.
Will your grandfather ever make a special appearance, or maybe
that's
your
a whole
mama?
Other podcast itself?
Yes, that's true.
I don't know if we deserving of his presence on our show, but I'm sure maybe one day as a special appearance.
There is so far you were the younger granddaughter in the house. Now there is Aradhya also growing up. So as an older sister who has gone through this, and you are this generation, you're much closer to her age than your grandmom or mom or her mom and everybody else in the family. What is the advice, or how would you like to take her through this journey of growing up? Because I'm assuming she's about 13 now,
12,
12, 13. She's just about entering the teens.
Yeah.
So as an older sister, what is your real relation?
I don't know if I'd give her advice. I think she's far wiser than I was at 12.
Really?
She's very intelligent and I think far more aware of things than I was maybe at her age. So it's actually great to see that entire generation, you know, grow up being so much more aware of the world, so much
yes,
more
they are.
aware of society and things around them. So I don't know what advice I would give her. I think I actually just admire that, you know, at such a young age, she is so, you know, aware of things and she's very wise. So, you know, just happy to have a younger sister in the house, you know, to share things with. But I don't think I could give her any advice. She's very, very self-assured, confident, and, you know, pretty aware of what's going on. So I think that's a really commendable thing.
So all the adjectives that I used for you, you will doubly use for her.
Yeah,
I guess.
definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's such a wonderful thing to say. You have, at one of the interviews that I was reading, or I think I was hearing, you had mentioned that you have no inclination towards films, but you want to go towards the business side. You want to take, you know, go work more towards with business and be an entrepreneur. Tell us a little about your entrepreneurial journey, and tell us, you've done a lot of work with women and for women empowerment. That's something very close to your heart.
Yes.
Yes. Please.
So I kind of started my entrepreneurial journey after college. I graduated in 2020 and I started my non-profit project Naveli. So we do a lot of work in education, you know, entrepreneurship and legal awareness for women. I think entrepreneurship has always been something very close to my heart. You know, I grew up in Delhi. My dad's a businessman, and my dad's side of the family has been in, you know, the business world for I think four generations. I'm the fourth.
Yes.
And I think all the women in my life have also been entrepreneurs. You know, been working women, whether it's my nani, my dadi, my bua, my mum. So they've all been women who started their own kind of ventures or businesses, and I think that's something that has inspired me a lot. I think. They've also always emphasized on the importance of women being financially independent and having, you know, having something that belongs to them. So that's, I think, the similar thought process. I always wanted to start something that was mine, something that I could grow by myself. And I think I got the chance to do that with Project Naveli. And I think now, having been, you know, in the development sector for 3 years, I get a chance to work with a lot of other women entrepreneurs, and it's nice to see that ecosystem is growing. It's nice to see there are more women who are looking at entrepreneurship as, you know, a career path, and I'm happy that in my small way I'm able to kind of help them fulfill that journey or fulfill their dreams of, you know, running a business.
Of course. What next on the podcast are we? When we talk, you are of course talking about a lot of, like you said, issues which are not talked about, which could be perceived as taboos. Is there anything specific that you would want to address in your podcast? Are there any specific topics other than, you know, make it more like a generic conversation?
I think this season we have tried to kind of dive deeper into a lot of the topics and conversations we had in season 1. But I think one that I'm especially excited for is the one where Agastya is a special guest. We, you know, are talking about masculinity. I think that's a very apt conversation in today's context. And I think that it's also a conversation that we haven't had. And I think it's nice because, you know, for the entirety of the first season and majority of this season, we're talking a lot about, you know, women and issues that affect women. But I think this is also a big piece that should be addressed, you know, and I think that conversation
and
is
the changing nature of masculinity.
Yeah,
probably,
so I think that's something that was really exciting, and also something that I don't think there's enough of out there in terms of content or conversation. So I'm excited for that episode to come out. I think it is also a very relevant conversation today. I think a lot of young men want to talk about masculinity, and I think that, you know, we're happy that we could kind of do that in our show as well. So it was a nice break from, I think, all the conversation around women and, you know, more
issues.
Yeah, I think it's a nice break, and it's also nice to hear from a young man himself what he thinks about masculinity. So I think that is something that I'm really excited for.
Was he nervous talking on camera in front of the three women?
No, he's, I think, more comfortable in front of the camera than all of us.
All of you, yeah.
But he's also got a mind of his own. He's also very wise. Family of wise people. He's also very, very wise. He has a lot of interesting opinions and his own viewpoints, which he's expressed in the episode. And it was nice to hear him. It was not a conversation I've had with him before, so it was a first for me as well.
Right.
So it was nice to hear what he thinks about this topic, and it was a learning for me as well as a sister to hear him kind of talk about all these things.
And at home, when it's you and Agastya, how is your equation? Is it the regular brother sister, or are you people very, very well behaved? Or
it's a good combination of regular sibling relationship. We're very, very close.
You're very close.
Very close, yeah. So we've grown up
together. The age
together.
difference is not
3
much.
years.
3 years, yeah.
So we've pretty much grown up together. So he's always been, like my best friend. So we're very, very close. And of course, like any siblings, we have our agreements, disagreements. But yeah, it's a very nice relationship. I'm very grateful to kind of have a sibling.
Of course. Navya, when I was looking at your podcast, I saw the whole, the set. It was very nice and casual. It's like sitting at home. So your mom was on a lounger, your nani was sitting with her shawl, and you were on one of those chairs. Was that a very thought out plan to make it seem like this? Or, like you said, it was just one of those conversations which started and we said, chalo, let's record this.
No, I think the whole thought process behind even the show is that it's a conversation that, we're having at home. And so we wanted people to feel like a fly on the wall, in our living room, that they're just kind of overhearing a conversation that the three of us are having, sitting as we do at home on our couches with our feet up and our shawls. And because it is something that we do genuinely. None of the show is scripted. It's, questions that I actually have, and everything that they are saying is very natural and organic. So we just wanted the environment around us to also feel very natural and easy
and casual.
Yeah.
But would you say that at some point, if you are talking about something serious, will that the entire, that may take away from the seriousness of the topic that probably you want to convey or you want to talk about?
I think, of course, when we are addressing or talking about something serious, we give it that due respect in the sense that this is something that needs to be talked about in a sensitive manner. But I think that the whole point of the show is also to make these conversations more accessible for people or have them more transparently. So I think even, when you are talking about serious things, you want the environment to make you feel comfortable, right? To have those conversations. So I think it was easier for us to have those conversations because we were in such a comfortable space. We also didn't want, to highlight that this is a serious conversation and you need to be serious and, sit upright and have it. It's, I think that's
not a gyan session.
That's what I think is the beauty of wanting to be transparent, is that you can do it anywhere. And that's the point of what we are trying to do, is that you can have these conversations at home on the dining table, and, it's okay to have those conversations, and you don't have to think 100 times before having those sensitive or hard conversations. So that was what our kind of thought process was of even having these serious conversations in a more casual setting.
Very nice. Thank you. No, I think on that note, Navya, I think it's a very, very good thought. And the way the podcast progressed and the season 2 is now on video, I'm sure we will have a lot more conversations. We will have a lot more to listen to, and people will have a lot more to relate with.
Yes, definitely. I hope so. I hope people enjoy the conversation. I hope they enjoy this season. We'd love to come back for a season 3. So I hope that, they enjoy listening to some of the conversations we've had.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. And all the best to you. And thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.